Jai Guruji Maharaj, Shukrana Guruji Maharaj. With folded hands and gratitude in my heart, I bow to the lotus feet of our beloved Guruji. With his divine grace and due permission, I would like to start the reading of chapter 90, Satsang number 86 from the holy book Light of Divinity. He is the answer to my prayers. The Creator, the Omnipresent, the Invisible Force is what I believed in. I felt he was watching over me and listening to me all the time. One day I called out to him and pleaded with him to meet me in human form, and he did. I used to have severe leg pain from the hip downwards. I tried all medicines but to no avail. Then I came to know about Guruji, who cured people's ailments. I was skeptical, but then the hope of getting relief from pain prompted me to go to him. My son, all of 7 years old, had grooves of pus in his tonsils and would get fever every 15 days. It would rise to 103 degrees Fahrenheit at times, and no doctor would be available at night. The child was allergic to all antibiotics except one, and he would get a reaction if administered the erythromycin drug that, in most cases, is effective. The scenario was repeated every month, and both my husband and I would give him cold compresses at night to bring down the fever. It was a nightmare. During those days, back in 1996, one still did voice a problem to Guruji. I started to tell him about my son's ailment. I had just about said, "My son," when he interrupted me and said, "First, you tell me about your ailment. What is your problem?" I mustered the courage to say that my legs ached, and Guruji simply said, "From now on, they never will." True to his words, my legs have never pained in that manner ever since. The excruciating pain went even as he spoke to me and has never once returned. He then asked me about my son. I never gave any details but simply said that his throat was sore. He blessed the child and told me to make him wear the symbol of Om in a pendant and not to eat rice in the family. It flashed through my mind that a small boy of 7 years would not be able to handle a gold chain around his neck. I need not have bothered to think this. That moment, Guruji told me to make him wear the pendant on a yellow thread around his neck. Guruji can see what lies in the future. At his will, he can avert disasters. He blessed me with a school of my own without my asking at the first meeting. In my youth, I had dreamt of joining the IAS. Matrimony ended that. He asked me, "You wanted to become an IAS officer, why didn't you?" I told him that my marriage to my loved one had become my priority. I felt that he knew much more than he showed and that he was no ordinary man. These incidents took place in Delhi. Guruji soon went back to Jalandhar and my pain never returned. My son too became hale and hearty. It then struck me that he could be the human form of the Creator that I was looking for. I went to Jalandhar to thank him for the miracle he had worked on my child and me. My daughter, aged 4, had wheezed during the winter. Knowing well how agonizing bronchitis or asthma can be, I was concerned for her. I was sitting with Guruji in the veranda when the little one went off to sleep on the floor by his feet. I could not muster up the courage to speak out aloud about her condition, so I spoke to him via telepathy. He stretched out one leg and put it on the child's back. I took that as an answer and felt I would never need to give her strong medicines ever again. My daughter has never wheezed since. Prasad out of thin air. Guruji, I was told by old disciples, produced Sachkhand or divine Prasad out of nowhere. Little did I know I would receive it one day. He summoned me to his seat, held out his palm and said, "Take." There lay a beautiful cup-shaped mystery prasad filled with another sweet prasad. My father was a heart patient who had suffered 2 attacks before we met Guruji. I told him about it and the answer I got was a flippant, "Don't worry." I was left wondering. Little did I know that my father would collapse a 3rd time. We rushed him to the nearest hospital and were told that his chances were slim. I asked my husband to go home and get Guruji's Sachkhand Prasad. I went into the ICCU and saw my father lying unconscious on the bed with tubes running around him. I put a little prasad under his tongue, hoping it would dissolve. The ECG taken after half an hour showed that he was just suffering from indigestion. It was not a serious case as a previous ECG taken on our arrival had showed. We went to Jalandhar as soon as my father was discharged. I walked in and saw Guruji calling me to a group of people sitting with him. He told me to narrate all that he had blessed me with, including my father's latest incident. I believe that when he asks you to narrate all the blessings that you have received, then you and the ones who hear it, and from now on, anyone who reads about it, are blessed further. My father had been declared as having lymphoma, cancer of the lymph glands. I went to tell Guruji, but could not. I had heard that he took away the ailment but bore the brunt of it on his own self, and that day I saw him uncomfortable in front of my eyes. I could not bring myself to say anything and went away. A week later, Guruji told me that he had cured father's cancer. I was shocked, even though I knew he could read minds. The reports that earlier diagnosed cancer soon came clear and confused the doctors. In a single day, mom joins the faithful. My mother was diabetic. She is an obese woman who had no diet plan and often did not take her medicines on time. Her blood pressure once rose to 200 mmHg and she was bedridden. I told Guruji about her condition and he told me not to worry about her and said, I will show your mother in one day what I am all about. Years passed and she remained hale and hearty, though she was not taking the insulin shots prescribed for an acute diabetic state. One day Guruji told me that he had saved my mother. Soon after he had said so, my mother was holding a report stating suspected TB of the small intestine and colorectal cancer. The earth shook underneath her and she came to see Guruji's blessings. Then, ailments or problems were not supposed to be told to Guruji per his orders. So she ate her langar and silently went away. The next morning at the hospital, all her reports, which a week earlier were positive, showed negative. The doctor was puzzled but happy that the patient was in the clear. He, however, put down her condition as diabetic diarrhea. At the next meeting, Guruji told her to go and get her diabetes checked. He smilingly asked me, how did this happen? I could not understand the significance of his words. My mother rang me up after a few days and told me that after getting her diabetes checked, her report showed the blood sugar level at 160 to 130 normal against the 280 to 260, which was her usual diabetic count for many years. She went on to say the same words as Guruji had said to me. How did this happen? I understood immediately that by using those same words, he had wanted me to know what my mother's reaction would be. Not satisfied and thinking that a report might have been a fluke, my mom got her diabetes checked again. This time the sugar reading was even better at 113 to 99. Guruji, true to his word, made her understand who he was in one day, as he had said a long time earlier. Missing him for 5 long years. Years ago, my hemoglobin count was falling. One day Guruji stated that if he told me what my ailment was, the ground on which I stood would slip from underneath my feet. I did not have the courage to ask him. Since I knew he could cure ailments, I begged him to cure me without even letting me find out. My husband and I were told not to meet him or even look at his photo for 5 years, and also not to tell anyone of his command. 5 years passed. Life took its course exactly the way he had planned it. We climbed higher and higher in every sphere of life, but secretly missed him. One day I prayed to him and asked him for a photograph that would reach me of its own accord, since I did not want to ask anyone for it. The photo came soon enough in the only magazine my husband subscribed to. I was later told it was no coincidence. A few days later, I felt asphyxiated as if every breath was an effort. I rang up my husband and parents, having just enough strength to say that I could not breathe. My son ran to the hospital for an oxygen cylinder. My daughter ran to the neighbors for help. My relatives were concerned. Alone, I prayed before his photo and said I could not breathe. I suddenly felt a strange sensation at the back of my neck, head and spine, and was breathing again. But my legs felt like jelly. Guruji had once told me that when you speak to his photograph, he listens. I was rushed to a hospital nearby. Alone in the ICU with an oxygen mask over my nose, I thought that when my end was near, no one but my Guruji had come to my aid. My dearest ones, my husband, my loving children, parents or relatives could not give me life. He could, and he did. He definitely is a messenger of God, and to me, an incarnation himself. Unbelievable but true when the impossible becomes possible in front of your eyes. Even more amazing was that when I was summoned and standing in front of him after years, he took one look and told me what I had been thinking word to word in the hospital. Why then, he said, husband, children, parents, relatives did not come in handy. The Guru did. This is your second life. Enjoy yourself. Isn't it amazing that we had not met for 5 years and yet he knew what I was thinking all alone on a hospital bed? He once told me that doctors would continue to do their job. After my hysterectomy, I was in a state of osteopenia. My hip joint and femur bone at times would give me discomfort. I never told Guruji this. Meanwhile, my bone density tests showed a decline in my calcium levels. Out of the blue, my husband and I were told to go for a holiday to Singapore by Guruji. We were to take our children along. He would keep asking me the time of my flight. I was told to meet a disciple of Guruji the moment I reached Singapore and narrate my blessings to her. The moment I narrated all that Guruji had done for us, my pain disappeared. On reaching Delhi, Guruji announced that my calcium and hemoglobin levels were all right. My blood count was tipping when Guruji revealed this to me years ago. He then told me to shed weight, otherwise I would get a heart condition. I reduced weight by his grace and I'm sure my heart is safe. My daughter used to get severe cramps in her stomach and they were worsening. She prayed to Guruji. He changed her name and today she has no stomach problem. I told another disciple that Guruji had changed my daughter's name. She in turn told me that hers too had been changed and that Guruji had told her that her stomach aches would never end if she continued with her previous name. That was no coincidence. Never have we seen a guru who gives unconditional love and does things practically for humanity without ever giving sermons. Satsang of Mrs. Sabina, Principal. With this, first and foremost, I would like to seek forgiveness from our beloved Guruji for mistakes in the narration of this divine satsang. I would also like to seek forgiveness from each and every one of you for the same and would like to invite you to the narration of next divine satsang from the holy book Light of Divinity. Thank you, Guruji. Thank you each and every one of you.